What is up everyone, Fred here from Zealz Gaming, and today I'm very excited to talk to you about Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is the newest release from the studio called Rare and is currently playable on PC and Xbox One. It is purchasable in the Microsoft Store, and if you want to check it out after this video, I'll leave a link in the description for you below. Now, what is Sea of Thieves? You might not have heard about it, or you might have heard everything about it. But whatever you might have heard, I think the game has one of the coolest recent concepts in the multiplayer genre. If I were to sum up Sea of Thieves in a brief sentence, I would call it one big playground where everyone has a pirate ship equipped with cannons. I will, however, admit that I had my skepticism about this concept when I first saw the gameplay trailer long ago. But now that I've actually played the game, I found it engaging my childhood fantasy of becoming a pirate on an entirely new level. And to be honest, the experience was pretty awesome. In Sea of Thieves you play on a map called, well, the Sea of Thieves. And the first thing you do when you load into the game is create your own pirate. Now when you've created this pirate, you can set sails in a big galleon or in a small sloop. The difference here being that the galleon has 3 to 4 people on it, while the sloop is limited to 1 to 2 people. When you first enter a game, you'll notice that there are no levels, talent points, or any MMORPG stuff that you need to start understanding. That's because Sea of Thieves prides itself on PvP equality, no matter how much you've played. It has no level systems, no better weapons than the ones you begin with, and basically Rare wanted PvP combat to always be equal, and only in-game experience is the factor that might decide who wins a battle. Now you might think, if there's no sense of progression, why would I ever play this game? Well, first of all, the naval battles contain some of the most intense and fun combat I have tried in a long time. And secondly, there is a sort of progression. It's just only reputation based. The game has 3 factions: the gold hoarders, to whom you deliver, well, gold; the Order of Souls, whom you hunt undead skeleton crews for; and the Merchant Alliance, who has you going out to catch chickens, along with other merchandise, and then deliver them elsewhere within a time limit. All of these factions can give you voyages, which will send you on a journey for loot. Now each time you find loot, you can stash it in your ship and take it back to an outpost to sell, but beware, other players can sink your ship and steal your loot. I think this is a very cool aspect of the game that always keeps you on your toes, and it really helps reinforce the pirate mentality that is Sea of Thieves. Another thing that Sea of Thieves does really well is combat. The weapons you can use as a pirate in the game are a sword, pistol, blunderbuss, and an ice reach, which is basically a sniper. All of the weapons have their own unique playstyle to them, and the fact that you have to account for the bullet drop and the speed of the enemy you're shooting at when you fire your weapon makes it feel a lot more realistic. However, the chicken dinner has to go to ship-on-ship combat in this game. I have seldom experienced such excitement in a game as the first time I sailed side by side with another galleon while my crewmates were hammering cannonballs into the enemy ship. It truly is a remarkable sight, and the fact that you have to account for the wind to increase or decrease your ship's speed while fighting, well, that just makes it so much more rewarding when you have a pre-made crew of friends who trained together to become the best sinking machine on the Sea of Thieves. This game really does reward teamwork, which I think is a really positive thing. The idea behind Sea of Thieves is really cool, and the game is really fun, but sadly it does falter in some really important aspects. The first problem is content. As soon as you come down from the high of being in epic naval battles and hunting treasure, you start to see a pattern develop. The voyages you go on are really a lot of the same repeated content, just on a different island. The game suddenly goes from being your personal own epic pirate history to being one long reputation grind to unlock the endgame content. And the fact is, if you want players to play 50 plus hours to reach the endgame of something, you really need to put variation in the mix, or people will burn out, which is a shame because the game is really cool. And speaking of variation, there are these things called skull forts, which are supposed to be raids of a sort. The concept is quite simple. You arrive at a fort, you start getting bombarded by cannon towers, then you go to shore and clear some waves of skeletons, and then you grab all the sweet loot. This sounds simple and would be a welcome variation from the standard voyages, but it has one big problem. You fight other people while trying to clear the fort, which in itself is not the problem. The problem is that if you win a fight against 2 other galleons, they will spawn on the outpost closest to the active fort and they'll be back within 2 minutes, which makes these fights last for 3 hours or more, and you are not guaranteed any loot during these 3 hours. It is sad that more often than not, it is more beneficial to ignore that skull and keep doing the same old voyages. The third and final major issue I have with the game is the cosmetics versus no levels concept it focuses on. I understand the notion of wanting everyone to be equal in a PvP battle, but the fact that it is only a hat and some black paint on the hull of a ship that sets a player with 50 hours apart from someone who just started is honestly a bit underwhelming. I think the idea is fine, but the execution is not that well done. Moreover, compared to the price tag in this game, the amount of cosmetics available on release is way too few in my opinion. And I think that when you pitch a game where you want cosmetics to dominate, having only 4 to 6 colors of sets on release is just not good enough. It makes the reputation grind feel completely pointless after a while. A thing that Sea of Thieves does well, however, is atmosphere. I really like the cartoony style of the graphics, and I think it was a great choice for the game. It is very few games where I can just stand and look at the sunset and be mesmerized. On top of that, the game has the most graphically stunning ocean I have ever seen. It really puts a lot of emphasis on the fact that you are now in a pirate world, and just looking at the waves while sailing is very relaxing. The soundtrack for the game is also really good, and it helps set the tone for whatever you're currently doing, be it out in the open sea, in combat, or just sitting around in an inn. In addition, I really like the fact that they've added instruments, so the players can set the musical tone for their own journey. Overall, Sea of Thieves is a fun game which relies heavily on your childhood fantasies of being a pirate, and I think it tries to execute this concept relatively well. But it saddens me that it falls short on content, because if the content was more varied and a bit more exciting, this game would be something truly special. We here at Zealz Gaming give Sea of Thieves a handsome 6.5. As a final note, I do want to advise you to play the game with your friends if possible. It really does make the experience a lot more awesome. Oh, wait, I forgot to mention the best thing about this game. You can get completely and utterly pirate drunk in this game. And it's pretty funny. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it, throw us a like and a comment below, or even better, if you like our content, hit that big red subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching.